very nicely into mistake number 2, which is, okay, you've agreed you're not going to volunteer, you're going to charge for this work, right? But the mistake that we then see people make is you're not charging near enough. And look, we've got a problem. I'm borrowing these stats from Rachel Rogers. Her book, We Should All Be Millionaires, is amazing. I want all of you to read it. So good. Women run 40% of small businesses and only generate 4% of the revenue. Like, holy macaroni, that is a problem. Only 6% of women earn 6 figures per year compared to 13% of men. And for Black women and other people of colors, right? And the stats are even worse. Okay, so we have a problem. And let's do some math together. So let's say you want to have this is conservative, right? Conservative scenario. You want to have an income of $60,000, right? And you want to take 4 weeks of vacation to travel, be with family, do whatever. You're never going to get there if you're charging by the hour, okay? And the mental shift has to occur here, where you're retiring this notion of being an employee and exchanging your time for money. Billing by the hour punishes you for getting better and faster. I'll give you an example. So one year I wrote a US EPA brownfield grant and it took me 2.5, 3 weeks to do it. The second year I did 2 in that same window. If I was billing by the hour, I would have worked twice as hard and made half as much, right? So it's really important that you're not billing by the hour, because the better you get, the less money you're paid. You also have other expenses to cover, like business development, software, taxes, office supplies, etc. So that all has to get factored into your rate. And you're focusing instead on what is the value that's delivered here versus how many hours is it going to take me to do this task, because that puts a lot of downward pressure on your rates. So that does bring the question up of, what do you charge? Never, ever, ever, ever on lowest price. You do not want the project or the client if they're more concerned about price than quality, because in the world of grant writing, you get what you pay for. That leaves you with 2 options: the affordable fair pricing or premium pricing. So here's a ballpark figure of what that looks like. Slice this right out of the course. So for a funding strategy, affordable fair is $900 to $2,500. A premium one is, $5 to $8,000. Grant applications really vary in complexity. So the LOI, that stands for letter of inquiry. So maybe a really small application to a moderate one to, let's say, a really tough federal grant where you're going to charge $25,000 as a premium grant writer. The reality is you're not charging premium until you have a lot of experience, and if you choose to commit to that level of service. But you sure as heck can charge affordable and fair prices, and this gives you a ballpark of what those can look like. And it's probably a lot more than you were thinking. So a question we often get, and I just want to address this right off the bat, is, but wait a minute, do I get paid by the grant? No, that is an old school practice, and it's no longer considered ethical, nor is it in your best interest, because you cannot guarantee a grant will be successful even if you do stellar work. We can certainly do things to improve our odds, but you don't want to go down this path. You want to be paid upfront for the professional service that you provide. So exactly how should you charge for your services? The one that we like the most is charging by percent of work complete. So let's say you're doing a funding strategy for $1,500 and it's an 8-week project. And let's say you get a third of the work done in the first month, and then you get the remaining work done in the second month. So you would invoice at the end of month 1, $500. 33% of the work is completed. And then in the second month, you would bill that remaining $1,000, right? So you're billing by how much of the work is completed, not by the hour. Or you can do a model where you're charging some percent up front and some percent upon completion. That works too. Just never by the hour for the most part, but that is a separate conversation. Now, I know this is a little bit confusing, and I even hesitated to put all this stuff in here, but just follow me. I know I just showed you, here's some example fees, right? Ranges that you might want to come in on, but you're not actually arbitrarily picking a number. You are thinking it through very critically using a fee estimate calculator, looking at, okay, what is it going to take me to do grant 1, grant 2, grant 3? And you're really thinking through each of those subtasks. So what's it going to take for me to put the narrative skeleton together? What's it going to take to do attachments? Who's going to do the independent review, right? So you're really breaking it down by the hour, But this is your back end. This is how you compare what you thought it would take to what it actually takes by tracking your time, so that you get a better understanding. Okay, am I building a profitable business? Because you can compare those two figures at the end of the project, right? It also tells you, even in the journey, like, oh wow, we're already tracking to go way over budget. We've got to figure out, are we out of scope? What's going on here, right? And I'm probably getting a little bit on a tangent. The point is, you want to use an actual calculator to really think through what something's going to cost, but I also want you to not be shy and bashful about what to charge. That's why I gave you sort of that range to look at earlier. You're never going to build the life you want if you don't feel very uncomfortable and squeamish pricing your services. Seriously, I can't tell you how many times where I quoted something and then the client said, oh yeah, no problem. And I'm just thinking to myself, you freaking idiot, you left money on the table. Like, if it didn't make them have to be a little uncomfortable with it, then I sure as heck left money on the table. Same for you.